We haven't spoken, I guess, in a hearing about this, but we learned back in December that DDOT had mistakenly awarded the streetcar contract and had to withdraw that proposal. So I wanted to ask you, for the record, what led to the mistake there? Why wasn't it uncovered earlier? And where do things stand now? Because I understand that it's been some weeks since DDOT has filed its motion to dismiss. There's an action in the Contract Appeals Board. Could you just bring us up to date on what happened, why it happened, and where we are now?
I have Jerry Carter. Do you need to get him to affirm to?
Yes, I do. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony that you're about to give to the council and to this committee is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. So
this is my chief procurement officer.
Okay, and I'm sorry, could you give me your name again?
Sure. My name is Jerry Carter. I'm DDOT's contracting officer. Quite frankly, it was a mistake. There was a clause in the contract that essentially said that if any of the offers did not make at least 30% on the technical score, then that would foreclose an opportunity for us to even evaluate the pricing component.
And you didn't mean that to be the case?
We didn't mean that to be the case. Quite frankly, we just missed it, and I certainly take responsibility for that as the agency's contracting officer. I take great
So
pride.
where is it now?
Right now, we have looked at other options. We believe the quickest way to recover from that and bring the streetcar procurement forward is to piggyback on an existing contract. We've looked at, done some research, and have identified 2 municipalities with an opportunity for us to do so, and we'll be making a selection shortly and bringing that contract back to the council.
So under what provisions, or can we just cast about to some other jurisdiction and find out if they have a contract and say, why don't you buy one for us too and we'll reimburse you? I mean, is there a mechanism for that?
In our procurement law the authority to do cooperative purchasing with other jurisdictions. I believe the FTA has actually a preference for us to do just that.
If we were to do that and we were to order a car now, what's the time frame for that to be delivered? Would we be ready to go when we plan to go, or are we going to open with only 3 cars?
That should get us back on track. I think it's probably 15 to 18 months, probably about 18 months.
So that we would still be ready to go. I think we're talking about July 13, right?
Well,
I can't do that. That's higher math for me, but.
Well, actually, it's, if we're looking at the earliest putting that car on order, probably March, early March. That would actually put the car here toward the end of September, or in August, September timeframe. So it could be a little later.
So we would start it with 3 cars. And what would be the average headway with just 3 cars then? In other words, the frequency, 3 cars, and we're going to add another 3 or another 2?
18, it'll be 18 minutes.
18 minutes with 3.
With 3.
And if we piggyback on somebody else's contract, are we getting 3 or 2?
We're getting 2 cars, and the reduced headway, well, the extended headway would only be for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. I wanted to pursue that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me say I think that'll be a mistake on the behalf of the administration if they start the system with only 3 cars. My understanding from asking Mr. Bellamy earlier that they were not going to start it with 3 cars, that they're going to start it with 5. If you start with 3, the headways are ridiculous, and often 1 car needs to be worked on. So it would just be like a tourist ride. Mr. Bellamy, for clarification, you're not going to start this with 3 cars, are you?
Our intent is to start it with 5 cars. We're trying to get through this procurement to get the cars here and test it and be ready for operational service.
It's really got to start off right. I think that from the very beginning, I mean, the 8th Street line is so important. I understand you've made a mistake on the procurement, and for whatever reason, this is where we are. I have tried to hang in there with y'all, but if you started with only 2 or 3 cars, I'm not with you. I just want to tell you that you're on your own. But I don't believe you're going to do that, because I just think that would be a huge error. Unless it's just, you can call it testing to see if the cars run. But if you actually open the system at half capacity, I think that's the story, and we don't need that. Anything you want? Is there any clarification? Is it that you don't want to open it with less than 5 cars, or is it that you will, if necessary, open it with less than 5 cars? What's the answer?
I don't have an answer at this time. I think that the bigger issue is to get the procurement through council. I've asked my OCP to get it to council and get it approved. Whichever vendor we go with, we're pushing them to give us a delivery so we can do our test runs and be ready for operational service.
Well, so you believe that you will have to come through council?
Oh, yeah, it has to come to council.
Well, I think, Madam Chair, I'm not going to, we're talking governance today, but I believe that what I've heard is kind of one of my worst fears coming true, but I'm not going to pursue it today. But I know that in partnership, Madam Chair, that we will pursue this, and that we're the nation's capital. We're rolling out the first leg of a 37-mile system. This is really a big deal. I know everybody knows that, but it's got to be done right. And so, Madam Chair, I look forward to working with you to addressing that question. And
well, can I just say something, though, because I thought you were making this point, and I think it fits right here, and it may add to, the disquiet that I feel at any rate, and that is you have this streetcar snafu, the Union Station Amtrak negotiations about where we're going to run the line. In July, we learned that, the proposal was not possible. A new plan had to be developed. There's a real question about why that wasn't uncovered earlier. The 11th Street Bridge, we learned over the summer that DDOT was prohibited from laying the tracks there. Why weren't we able to, identify that and work that out earlier? Those kinds of things lead to a concern that, all of this in-house decision-making without maybe the focus or the attention is not the kind of thing that we want. So I thought you were going to make that point. I stole, but you can have all your time back. I just wanted to add that adds to this, anxiety about whether really this is something that ought to be, the whole thing ought to be decided by DDOT kind of, forgive me, but muddling along.
Well, let me just say that.
Give Mr. Wells more minutes.
And let me just wrap up by saying that it undermines the confidence that we have in being able to do this. The streetcar acquisition issue is a major issue, and it's an issue that I have not wanted to participate in putting that in front of the press, because it just I haven't wanted to do that. But also to give you an opportunity to resolve it through piggybacking. Then obviously you have to deal with, are the cars actually, how similar are they? I mean, there's some differences, I think, with the plates on the bridge plates and all that stuff, but I think that obviously could be worked around. But I initially thought we were going to start with 6 cars, 1 car in reserve. And now, if we start with 3 cars, and we're testing out a new system, there's going to be problems. These are brand new cars. There's going to be problems. And I can envision days when, if we start with 3 cars, only 1 will be running, and there's no point in running a system with 1 car. And then we'll have the days when it's not running at all. and it will be a symbol of failure for this administration that it does not need. I absolutely think it'll be a mistake if you open this line less than 5 cars. I really do, Mr. Bellamy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. You know, again, to underline this, DDOT does an enormous amount, and it does it very well. And it gets a lot done and a lot correct, but it's humongous, the kinds of things that are under your purview. And when you add this with all of its complexity, that's one of the things that, at least for me, is driving the idea that maybe really this ought to be separated out. And, you know, I understand that that's not the direction you're going in, or at least not in the short term, but I would hope that that is given a lot more thought.